So it's website platform, solid SEO. You got to make sure that whoever's doing your SEO actually does link building, because link building, having links pointed to your website is one of the most weighted signals in Google's algorithm. And then the other really important thing is Google My Business.
Welcome to the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast, the #1 resource for automotive sales professionals, managers, and owners to learn how to make money, accumulate wealth, and to all out ball out in the auto industry. And now your hosts, Sean V. Bradley and L.A. Williams.
Hey everybody, this is Sean V. Bradley, president of Dealer Synergy and the creator of the Millionaire Cars Group. And I got a real strong, Leviathan in the automotive industry and a friend of mine for many, many years, Mr. Greg Gifford of SearchLab in Chicago. Greg, say hello to everybody, my friend.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy to be here.
Okay, Greg, man, how long have I known you, man? I was thinking about that. It's been many, many years.
Man, it's got to be 5, 6, 7 years at this point. I don't know, man. With COVID, my brain just doesn't comprehend time anymore,
Absolutely. Before we even start the interview, I want to just say to everybody, man, this is a real plus. I mean, we've had people from the National Speakers Association. We have New York Times bestselling authors, but we've got a guy that's a Leviathan in the automotive industry, but also a rock star in the search engine vertical, like globally. So Greg, can you talk about, let's start with your search background. Can you just share with our audience, like who you are when it comes to search?
Yeah. So, a lot of people probably have either heard me speak at Digital Dealer, NADA, or at least heard of me. I was pretty visible when I worked at Dealeron. I was in automotive specifically for 12 years, I think. But a lot of people don't know that I speak all over the world at search marketing conferences, teaching other marketers how to do this local SEO thing. And the last 4 or 5 years, I've become, I hate tooting my own horn, but, I've become one of the most popular speakers all over the world. I talked to a guy at a conference in DC last summer, and he said his company, it's a big SEO tool company, and he said they did research and they looked at all of the big digital marketing conferences all over the world in every country and listed out all the speakers and made this whole spreadsheet thing and said that I was like more than 2x the most in-demand speaker at search conferences worldwide. So I travel a lot. When COVID hit and we had all the conferences get canceled this year, at the beginning of March, I already had 28 conferences in 8 different countries scheduled this year.
Oh my God.
I had some insane stuff, man. We were going to Dubai. I was going to Singapore. I had some really cool stuff lined up this year that just didn't pan out. But yeah, it's cool. I get to go to some really cool places, talk to some really cool people. My passport has tons of stamps in it. And I get to speak all over the world and teach people how to do this SEO stuff. So outside of automotive, I'm not actually talking to other business owners. I'm talking to other marketers, teaching them how to do it so then they can go do it for their businesses. So
you're like train the trainer type thing on a high level.
Exactly.
And we're also co-presenting at the upcoming Digital Dealer Virtual Experience in October. So you're on the roster.
Yeah, I'm actually working on my slides today.
I was yesterday. So yeah. Absolutely. So now, you were at Dealeron, you mentioned, which is a pretty big company, and you were the head of the search division for thousands of car dealerships. So is that about correct? So that's crazy, thousands of car dealerships. So let's start with the car dealerships. What in 2020, we're September 2020 right now, what are the most important things that a car dealership or an internet department needs to really know about search engine optimization going forward?
That it's something they have to do. There's still so many dealers out there. It's crazy. Dealers have no problem dropping 10, 20, 30K a month on paid search. And you come in and tell them they need to spend $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month on SEO and they freak out. But if you look at Google Analytics, your biggest source of traffic is organic search from Google. And you usually get more leads. Even if you combine all your other lead sources, you still get more leads from organic search from Google. Why would you not invest in that? Especially after COVID, where now 100% of every piece of business that comes to dealership starts with a search on Google. You've got to be visible. Now, sure, if you're in BFE, Iowa, and there's not another dealership for 50 miles in any direction, you're probably okay without doing SEO. But, if you're in any sort of a market where there's other dealers that you're fighting against, You got to be that guy that shows up high on page one if you want to continue to do well. And there's a lot of dealerships out there that, we're 5-6 months into this COVID thing, and they're still out there hanging on going, oh man, when are we going to get back to business as normal? And that's just not going to happen. Like, business has changed fundamentally, and the way that we have to service customers has changed fundamentally. So the dealers that are winning are the ones that know you've got to show up in those searches early on, or you're just not going to get that business.
So Greg, I like what you said, and I kind of equate it to, it's like paying $100 for ketchup and $5 for the steak. You know what I mean? Which doesn't make any sense to me. Is that if you are going to have a website and spend the $30K on pay-per-click, search engine marketing, but not invest in the actual, main website, would you agree with that analogy? Maybe not the numerical,
but it's a great analogy, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. And so let's talk about why that is. And I want you to debunk stuff. If I'm wrong, correct me. If I'm right, then agree with me. I believe part of this has to do with the stupid model, meaning that you got to look at a manufacturer. I'm not going to mention any names, but, let's say you have ABC manufacturer, and then you have XYZ vendor that has an OEM contract. Let's say it's like, an OEM that's got 3,000 stores. So that web development company has to build a template or a product that cannot serve one dealership, but 3,000, 6,000, 9,000
exactly the
dealerships.
Problem.
So you can't turn around and really do search engine optimization the right way on a macro level with a White Castle or McDonald's strategy. Would you agree? Can you talk about that?
If you're feeling sick, you're feeling ill, this isn't a COVID thing. So just say you're feeling under the weather. Maybe you've got a cold. Maybe you've got strep throat. Maybe you've got a stomach bug. Maybe you've got cancer. You don't know. And you go into the doctor and the doctor says, I've got 3 different medicines I can give you. I'm going to give you this medicine, or this one's more expensive, or this one's a bunch of antibiotics and this one will definitely help you feel better, but it's way more and it's not covered by your insurance. And you're like, but you don't even know what's wrong with me, but you're trying to sell me medicine. It's the same thing. You've got these OEM approved packages, and it's not necessarily the fault of the vendor, because once the vendor gets into those OEM programs, the way those OEM programs are run, you have to have locked in packages. But you have this locked in package that may or may not have anything to do with the actual problems that dealer has with visibility online. And it just doesn't make sense. In any other vertical out there outside of automotive, that type of situation doesn't exist. If you're a lawyer, if you're a doctor, if you're a plumber, if you're a whatever, you go to a digital marketing company and go, I need help with paid search or social media or SEO or whatever it would be. And they would go, okay, let's check you out. And they do an analysis of your site, an analysis of your competitors, and figure out, okay, here's what's wrong and here's what we can do to fix it. That situation doesn't exist in automotive if you use the OEM vendors, because you're getting the package that's prepackaged, whether you need half of that package or not.
No, exactly. I mean, like that is a really, really good analogy. And I'm going to use it if that's okay. You know what I mean? When I'm talking to these dealers.
I'm stealing your ketchup one, so that's fine.
Okay, there you go. Okay, we could trade off. Okay, I love it. So let's just compound that when you've got dealers that don't understand this stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, but they just want to sell cars. You know what I mean? And so they're depending on their manufacturer. They're depending on that vendor, or they're depending on a consultant advising them. And it's almost like, let's continue that medical analogy. Just like back in the day, they used to have, medical sales reps, that would go to different doctors' offices, take the doctors out, bribe them and with dinners and stuff like that, so they could start repping their pharmaceuticals. Yep. And so again, that's how I feel. Unfortunately, is that the deck is stacked against these dealers. So here's my direct question. How can a dealer that's not tech savvy learn basics, so they could, understand intelligently, not so they could do SEO themselves, but so they could understand how to make an educated decision on a vendor, or how to make an educated decision on a strategy? What do you recommend for them to get basic knowledge?
Honestly, I've got a weekly video series that's awesome.
Time out. If you didn't say that, I would have lost respect for you. That was a fucking layup, bro. You know what I mean? That was a layup. So go ahead.
I've been doing a weekly video series for, probably 8 years now. Back from when I was way, way, way back starting in automotive at a company called AutoRevo that does websites for independents. I started a weekly video series, and then I did it at DealerOn. And then I still do it now. And that weekly series is just short, simple, bite-sized tidbits about digital marketing to help dealers understand how things actually work. Are you still there? You're frozen.
Okay, so while Sean's frozen, let's take the time to remind everyone to subscribe to the podcast and make sure you leave us a review. If you're getting any value from any of these episodes, just go ahead and leave us a review. Tell us exactly what you like, what you don't like, whatever the case may be. But ultimately, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we're back.
So the video series, I've been doing it for 8 years across 3-4 different companies. And it's the whole point is to help educate people. It's not a sales type thing. It's never like, hey, here's a video, and if you want to learn more, then buy our product. Or here's a video that's really a demo. It's more just little bite-sized tidbits that are like, here's how this thing specifically works. You want to know how reviews influence your visibility, or you want to know how links are important, or right now, next week, the video I'm doing next week is about how the content on your website is important. So it's little tidbits like that. One thing for sure, if dealers want to learn more about SEO, don't go to SEO sessions at automotive conferences because everyone there, unless it's one of mine, but you go to any of those sessions, and this was true even when I was a dealer on. Sure, I'm there educating, but really I'm there trying to get you to buy my shit.
Right.
And most of the people there, they don't know that much about SEO. They're just saying some sales guy that's telling them what to say to make people want to buy their SEO. Or even if it is somebody in the SEO department, they're trying to tell you their version of SEO. And then if you go, hey, what websites do you write content for? What other places do you do things for? Do you speak at SEO events? They're like, no. Where you ask me that, and it's going to take me 10 minutes to list off all the conferences I've spoken at in the last 2 years. And I'm not saying that from a bragging point of view. I'm just saying it within automotive, it's such a closed loop that you don't really have good educational sources out there. So you have to go outside of automotive to seek those out. There's a company called Sem Rush that is a big SEO tool set. And they have a place called Sem Rush Academy that is just all free tutorial videos. You don't have to pay a cent. You don't even have to have an Sem Rush account to go do those tutorial videos. So that's a really great resource. So you can go there. They've got basic SEO videos. They've got advanced SEO videos. They've got PPC videos. They've got general digital marketing videos. So that's a really great resource. Search Engine Land is a pretty good place to go. Moz is a pretty good place to go. They've got a really good blog with some information there. But you got to get outside of automotive if you really want to learn how things work.
Let me just tap that for a second right there. I want to first say that I would agree. A lot of people, let's just use NADA. I mean, Jesus, man, like NADA charges, it could take a medium to large company, $20, $30, $40, $50, $100, $200,000 just to do an NADA show. Am I correct, Greg?
Yeah, it's pretty expensive.
Yeah. So the point that I'm saying here is that if you're exhibiting at these events and you're speaking at these events, you need to try to get an ROI, and your main mission
you're there.
is exactly. And I'm a vendor too. So my job there is not altruistically like little Mary Poppins just trying to give you free education. I want to inspire you, but I'm trying to sell you something. So I would agree with that. And to your other point though, which I thought was brilliant, you just smacked it out of the park, is that if you ask any of these so-called SEO experts out there from these other companies, especially in automotive, what do they do to contribute? Like what blogs, what articles, what events are they adding education for search on without having, a motivation of buy my product? Most of them will not be able to say anything. That's the first thing. Second thing is we were talking before we went live on this podcast about you starting to have more of a presence in the Millionaire Car Salesman Facebook group. And so with those videos that you talk about on a weekly basis, you will be starting to post those in the Millionaire Car Salesman group, correct?
Definitely, yeah.
All right, absolutely. So folks, that's going to be a great way. Okay, so now that I've got some basic knowledge or some intermediate knowledge through, these different sources like, SEM Rush or like Search Engine Land or Moz or through you or whatever it is, what is the first, like, if you could give me like just Forrest Gump steps 1, 2, 3. I'm a dealer at for example, a Ford dealership in Minnesota, right?
Okay.
What's the first, second, third, fourth, fifth thing I need to do to be successful?
First thing you need to do is look at what website platform you're on. You said a minute ago you didn't want to name names. So if we want to stay where we're not naming names, there are very few platforms that are worth being on in automotive. automotive's another kind of weird beast where you have really just a handful of options. Most other verticals out there, you don't have, these locked in options for websites. Everybody's just going to go get a WordPress site. And that doesn't mean I'm telling you go jump on Inspire because they're WordPress, even though I would tell you to, well, we weren't naming names. But it's weird that you have, your OEM tells you have to use one of these 3 or 4 website providers. That's a strange thing, but definitely don't choose your website provider based on cost, and don't choose your website provider based on that's who you've always used, because I can tell you from experience, and this is from years of experience, that switching from those poor providers to the better few options will drastically increase your conversion rate and drastically increase your visibility in search engines without even doing SEO. So just the technical back end of your site makes a massive difference.
Repeat that again. Repeat that statement again.
The technical back end of your site makes a massive difference. There are technical issues that Google looks at that will influence your visibility in searches. So it's like, if let's use you and I are gonna go get in a race. We're gonna do the cannonball run, right? And I have an option. I can get a Ferrari, or I can get a Pinto. Now, if I win the race, I get gazillions of dollars. So do I want to go drop $250,000 on a Ferrari? And the race is just you and me. It's only us, to oversimplify. I know that you're driving a souped up Beamer, let's say. So I know I can drop $250 on a Ferrari and guaranteed beat you. Or I can buy a Pinto for a couple $100 and maybe try to throw some nitrous in it or do some other stuff and hope that maybe if I do enough janky stuff, maybe I can beat you. Why would I not spend the $250? Or why would I not, go get a loan for the $250 and make payments on that, knowing that I'm going to win that race?
Right.
I don't understand why dealers are like, oh, well, I can get SEO for $600 from my website vendor. Why would I spend more than that? Because they're not doing anything for $600. So you've got to have the right technical back end of your website. And then you've got to understand that SEO is, especially after COVID, your most important marketing investment that everything else is going to be based on. You can't do paid search. You can't do retargeting. You can't do successful social stuff without an awesome website. And you're not going to have an awesome website with just an out-of-the-box vendor website. You got to do SEO on that website. So you've got to realize it's something you've got to invest in for the long term. And so that SEO is having somebody that's qualified that knows what they're doing. Another big problem with the whole way that automotive is set up is once you get approved and you're part of that vendor program, you have to say yes to anybody that wants to sign up. So if I'm in the Ford program or the Toyota program or the BMW program or whichever OEM program it is, if I'm one of the approved vendors for SEO in that program, I have to take anybody that signs up. So let's say you've got a Ford dealership in Dallas and there's like 25 Ford dealers in the Dallas-Fort Worth market. You got a Ford dealership and you're doing SEO with me, and your biggest competitor is a Ford dealership that's 3 blocks away. And they come to me and go, hey, I want to do SEO with you. Even though I'm already doing SEO for you, they want me to do SEO for them. I have to say yes to that. How's that going to work? Because in the Dallas market, there's only one number one for Ford dealer in Dallas, or one number one for, I want to buy a Mustang, or I want to buy a Bronco, or, all the other stuff that I'm doing SEO for your dealership. Used cars, used car dealer, oil change, tire rotation, battery replacement, windshield wipers, auto service. How can I do that for the guy that's right up the street that's your biggest competitor too? It doesn't make sense. It's not morally something that should be done. So you want to make sure that you're getting quality SEO from somebody that understands Google's local algorithm, which has different signals that it pays attention to, and make sure that that person's not also doing SEO for somebody else in your market.
Man, you're hitting them with some strong nuggets on here. Like, that is such a good point, is that how in the world, if Ford is directing you to use CDK or Gazelle or one of these companies, and if your direct competitor's on it, how in the world can that SEO company or web development company handle both of them, somebody's going to lose. Or if they have 3 or 4 people, you said 25 people in a PMA. So if you've got 25 dealerships, in X amount of area, how in the world can they do SEO for all 25, and
you'll
stores?
end up with a situation, maybe it's not 25, maybe it's 20, maybe it's 15, but you'll end up with a situation where half the dealers in a market are using the same SEO vendor. Now, having them all on the same website vendor, that's going to happen, but I could have 5 dealers on the same website, but do in one market, but do SEO for one of them. And the one that I'm doing SEO for, and not just me, anybody that knows how to do SEO, if you're going to do SEO on one of those 5, that guy is always going to win, even though their websites are all the same platform, because there's so much other stuff about what's your content, how's it optimized, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it doesn't make sense when you've got the same vendor. I mean, this is the same thing with paid search, where you can go into a market and say, I'm looking for a 2020 Mustang in Dallas, and the top 3 paid search ads are word for word exactly the same, because those OEM paid search vendors click a button to generate your campaign, and then it spit it out, and there you go. And they don't have a human touching it, and you get the same crap as everybody else. SEO works the same way. It's like you get that same pill that everybody else gets. Whether that's what you actually need or not, who knows?
Okay, what else?
So it's website platform, solid SEO. You got to make sure that whoever's doing your SEO actually does link building, because link building, having links pointed to your website, is one of the most weighted signals in Google's algorithm. And then the other really important thing is Google My Business. And a lot of dealers.
Here's where we're going to go. Let's go to link building. Explain link building first, and then we'll explain Google My Business, and then we're going to transition to salespeople. So explain link building.
So link building, one of the most weighted signals in Google's algorithm is that you have other websites linking to your website. So let's say I've got Greg Gifford Ford in Dallas, Texas. I would want other websites having a link to Greg Gifford Ford. Now, those websites could be other related sites within automotive, or it could be other local websites. And that's a big thing that a lot of people don't get, because most people out there don't understand how Google's local algorithm works. So they're looking at all of the traditional SEO stuff that's out there, and all the traditional SEO stuff says, oh, these websites have to be relevant to your industry. But if you're talking local SEO, it could be relevant to your industry or relevant to your local area. So the dry cleaner right up the street that does the dry cleaning for all your service uniforms could totally link to you, and it's a relevant link. Or the church that you go to.
Let's be specific. So let's say I'm the internet director, or I'm the webmaster, or I'm unfortunately one of these OEM juggernaut website developers, right? And you are the dealership, and you are empowered from watching a Greg Gifford, video about link building. And let's just use Dallas, Texas. And how can I link, or how can I better say it? How can I have that dry cleaner's link? Specifically, what do? I talk to the dry cleaner, and what do I say to them?
It's really easy in automotive. And this is one of the things that actually, when I talk outside of automotive at all these digital marketing conferences, I say, look, if you can ever get car dealers, link building is super easy, because car dealers are already really philanthropic, and they're already really involved in the community. That's just, dealers just do that. It's always been that way. It's old school marketing. When I'm out talking to other types of verticals, I have to say, be like a car dealer. Go get involved in your community, because if you're involved in your community, that's the sort of stuff that gets you links. So if you have a partnership with this dry cleaner, because these guys gave you a deal, and they're like, hey, we'll give you a deal on price because you're going to get all your uniforms cleaned here. Well, cool. All you do is go, hey man, you do all your uniform cleaning. We got this partnership. Will you give me a link? Or
stop right there. Stop. Remember, you are super advanced. The people listening to this,
all you have to do is ask them. Literally, you're talking to them. You're just going to say, give me a link.
But what does that mean? How do they physically get the link? Remember, there's some old school car people that have no idea what you're talking about. So I get it. But like when you say link, so if I'm Bradley Dry Cleaners and you are Gifford, Ford in Texas, where on my website do I put the link? How do I
would have my website guy talk to your website guy. So I don't really have to understand anything than having my website guy find out who your website guy is. And then our website guys go, hey, give me a link. And your website guy goes, okay, cool. Sometimes it's based on, like, if you're writing, let me give you a better example.
Yeah.
Let's say I've got a page on my website that is local resources. So it's, here's businesses in Dallas that we think you should support because we like them. And I list Bradley Dry Cleaner on there. And I'm like, use Bradley Dry Cleaner, mention our dealership and get 5% off your next bill. Because I've got that on my site, it makes sense that I would now link to Bradley Dry Cleaner, right?
Right.
So if you had something on Bradley Dry Cleaner's site that's like, hey, we're the official dry cleaners for Greg Gifford Ford, then at that point, that's the logical place that link would go. And the website guys would know that stuff.
Okay. And now here's the thing, because I'm ready. I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
Sure.
There's some people, let's just say there's a local dry cleaner. Like I go to this old school Korean, dry cleaners that they don't even, I think they have like abacuses instead of cash registers at this place. So let's say they had a website, but they don't have a special page, they're like, they want to help because they're so grateful for the donation or the mention or the partnership, but they say, listen, Greg, I would love to link there, but I don't know what the hell you mean. Where would you recommend that one of these local companies, like just they have to create a page, or does it have to, or can it be on a blog post? Because let's say it
can be on a blog post just as easily as a page.
Same thing. As long okay, that's a good statement there. So either a blog post or a page, but as long as there's a link going. Now I've heard in the past that bidirectional links aren't good. Is it inbound links or is bidirectional links okay?
So every once in a while, if they go both directions, it's okay. But what you don't want to do is just go out to every business in town and go, hey, I'll link to you if you link to me. So the way that I kind of like to explain it is if you really boil Google down to the simplest concept, Google is just pattern detection. All it is a really, really advanced pattern detection program. So if it's looking, if you know that one of the patterns that's important to make your site show up more is that other sites are linking to you. What you don't want is your link pattern to look influenced or manipulated. So if all of your links are reciprocal links where I'm linking to you and you're linking to me, and that's the only kind of links I have are also links that I'm linking to, that doesn't look natural. So then those links will be devalued and they're not really going to help me much. So what you want to do is earn links. You want to get links because you're awesome and you've got good information and other people would benefit from having that link. So think about, and gosh, we could go off on a tangent for link building for forever. But a lot of times really the easiest way to talk about it to car dealerships is look at the stuff that you're already doing in the community. Look at the relationships that you already have built up with other community members and look at the things that you're already doing. And all of those are typically opportunities to get links. Those golf tournaments that you're sponsoring, the 5Ks that you're sponsoring, all those types of little league teams, peewee football teams, all the stuff that dealerships tend to do anyway, just make sure that other site is giving you a link back because of that relationship. And that's a lot of times all you have to do.
Okay, now, since we're continuing link building, I've talked to people that just don't understand because they hear the word link. There is really no value. It's a question, not a statement. Is there any value or no value for linking within your site? So let's just say that you see that there's a page on your site and there's links in there, but they go to other pages in your site. Is there any value for that at all or none really?
Tons of value there. So the internal structure of how your site is set up is also really important. And this is a great example of internal links is something most people in every vertical just don't ever think of. And it's a big thing that you could do for SEO to help funnel people the right way through your site. So it's an SEO thing and it's a conversion thing as well. So if you were to graph out your website where you had a bubble for each page, the graph of the way that your site looks should really almost look like a pyramid where you've got your home page that then links to maybe 2 or 3 pages, and then each of those links to 2 or 3 pages, and so on and so forth. So it becomes this triangle. The thing that car dealers are really bad about is I want my homepage to link to everything that anybody might ever want to do once they come to my dealership. That's not good. You want the fewest links possible on your site. And if you really think about it, outside of the menu, because obviously you need your menu that shows what's on the site, but in the content of your homepage. So that's your homepage slideshow and your video or buttons or widgets or anything on your homepage, you really only need 3, maybe 4 links because there's only 3 things that people are going to do. 4 things people are going to do when they come to your site. They're going to buy a new car, they're going to buy a used car, they're going to buy parts, or they're going to get service. That's really the only 4 things that people are going to do at your dealership. So you don't need 50 links in the text on your homepage to your different models and the different cities that you service and all the other BS that people have done. That stuff doesn't matter. You need those 4 links, and your site's going to convert better if you only have 4 links, because now they don't have to scroll through and go, oh, I can book an oil change, I can book an appointment, I can get my trade-in value, I can book a test drive, I can do all these different things where like I just landed on your website. You don't even know if I'm going to buy a car or come in for service. And then that internal link structure, it's thinking about the buyer journey that somebody goes through on your site. So let's say I land on your homepage and then I go this direction and go over into service. Now, sure. Every time I say this at an automotive conference and I say, you don't need to link to inventory from service pages, dealers come back and go, yeah, but when somebody comes in for service, you can try to flip them and sell them a new car. Okay, sure. Ideally, we all want to try that. But realistically, in the vast majority of cases, if I'm bringing my car in for service, that's all I need. I'm bringing my car in for service. I'm not going to buy a new car. So if I'm on your site and I go into the service section, stop popping up coupons for buying a car. Or don't have that exit intent coupon that's like, want to save $500 off your next purchase? No, because I don't need to buy anything. I'm coming in for service. So once you get in that service path, get rid of all those inventory links. And once you're on the inventory path, get rid of all the service and parts links. So make sure the internal links make sense for where you are in the site and where you are in the buyer journey. And that also strengthens the internal SEO value of your website.
This is strong. Okay, now where can someone find information on link building strategies and things like that?
Actually, I did a video for the Sem Rush Academy on link building. So there's an hour course on link building that anyone can take for free at the Sem Rush Academy on link building. That's a great resource. I've got lots of slides on my slideshow account. So
you're the one that created an hour course on the Sem Rush Academy?
Yeah, so the Sem Rush Academy, most of their courses are actually from digital marketing speakers, not from Sem Rush employees.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So
is that the only way to get that? Is there any way that you could drop that link into the Millionaire Car Salesman group?
Yeah, I can put it in. There's a whole learning path where it shows all the courses that I've done for them. So I could drop that into the Facebook
after
page.
This interview, if you could just take a couple minutes before you go to your next thing and just put that in the
write that down
group, and you
so I
say,
don't forget.
hey,
yeah, no problem.
And you could just post, Greg, hey, this is Greg Gifford. You know, I just did an interview with Sean Bradley for season 3 of the Millionaire Car Salesman podcast. And in the interview, link building came up. Sean asked me to drop this link in here, you know, for some really good education. I'd appreciate that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. No problem.
All right. One last question on link building, then we're going to go to local search. Okay, so I've heard that, you know, is it true? And you know, this is you're like the fucking what do you call those people? The myth builders, the myth busters, right? Like I love talking to you. It's like the myth busters of SEO and shit right here. That would be a cool ass like weekly thing or like a little video. Like,
I do that on my videos every once in a while. Well, yeah. I'll kind of compile up stuff that we hear over time, and then I'll be like
SEO Mythbusters with Greg Gifford and Sean V. Bradley.
Yes.
Yeah. So here's a question. Is this true or false that if there's a link that's coming from an authoritative site, let's just say like something huge like Edmunds.com or Kelley Blue Book, this is that they get like millions and millions of unique searches per month. Google ranks those as authoritative sites. If somebody at that level on Google's radar is linking to you, is that a higher level link or are all links equal?
All links are not equal. Ooh. Generally, what you said is correct, except for the fact that most dealers are not going to get a link from Edmunds or Cars other than their inventory being there. That sort of stuff where you're just, you know, a link from AutoTrader because you're on AutoTrader, that link has no value whatsoever. But if AutoTrader wrote an artitle about your dealership because you did something groundbreaking, that link would be really valuable. So let's use like CNN or Forbes as an example instead of.
Wait a minute, if I can, let me tweak you. What I was using as an example. Let's use Automotive News. That's a major site, right? Automotive News.
More authoritative than other sites, but yeah, like Automotive News. You're only going to get on Automotive News if you have something newsworthy. You're not just getting every dealer's not there. So if you're looking at all other things being created equal between you and a competitor, you're on the same website platform. All the other it's not a real world situation, but just to make the example that way, everything is equal between these two sites. And then you guys do something newsworthy and Bradley Ford gets a link from Automotive News that Gifford Ford doesn't have, then that link is going to be, or you get a link from Automotive News and I get a link from Jim Bob's Dry Cleaners. That link from Automotive News is going to be worth more. But because we're talking local SEO, say like traditional SEO, all you care about is those valuable links. You want to go after those big dogs, those whales, those big authoritative sources. But Google uses its local algorithm for car dealers, which is different weights and considers different signals. And in that local algorithm, like I mentioned earlier, you need relevance to your business or relevance to your local area. So in the local algorithm, a local link, like a link from Bradley Dry Cleaners to Gifford Ford, is still relevant. Where if I wasn't a local business and I was just an e-commerce business, a link from Bradley Dry Cleaner to Gifford's e-commerce house of awesomeness wouldn't matter. But because I'm a local business getting a link from another local business in the same area, that link carries a lot of value. And those local links are typically easier to get than those big whale links. So a lot of times dealers get caught up in, I need to go do something and get on this website, or I need to do a bunch of press releases and try to get in the news. Forget all that crap. You don't really, those are great if you can get them, but it's way easier to get a bunch of local links instead that cumulatively are just as valuable.
So that's going to segue us into local search, which is what you're very passionate about. For years now, you are really kind of trying to educate dealers about the power of local search. So just give us a synopsis and explain to us local search and why is it so relevant and how can a dealership dominate? I'll give you an example. Let's be a little bit specific. I've got a client at RK Auto Group. Okay, so RK Auto Group is a Chevy, Kia, Subaru dealership in Vineland, New Jersey, in South Jersey. How could they dominate local search?
So Google, something that people don't realize is when you type something into Google, there's not just one algorithm that returns search results. Google's going to look at the intent of your query. Google's going to say, here's what this person is asking for. What do they actually need? And it's going to base that off of past history and analysis that's done in the past. So it's figured out for certain types of businesses, if I'm looking for you said they sell Chevy and whatever else?
Kia, Subaru.
Okay, so let's say I'm looking for a Chevy dealer and I'm in their area. If I look for a Chevy dealer and I just say Chevy dealer, it's automatically going to give me stuff in my local area. So if I'm in Dallas and I type Chevy dealer, it's giving me Dallas stuff. Even if RK had the best SEO in the entire world and they were by far the light years beyond anywhere else on SEO, I still wouldn't see them in Dallas because Google understands I'm not going to go to Jersey to buy a car. I'm going to buy a car from somewhere nearby. So Google uses that local algorithm. So it's the same thing of like the example I always use for car dealers is, let's say you're sitting in the office at the dealership. You type 2 words into Google, pizza delivery. You get a list of the pizza spots right by the dealership. Then you go home tonight. Same search, same 2 words, pizza delivery, totally different search results. But it doesn't even click in your head that that's a weird thing because it makes sense. You need pizza delivered from somewhere nearby. But that's Google's local algorithm. Google's figured out for certain businesses, if the search query doesn't include a city name or a phrase like near me or nearby, that person still needs localized results, and it's going to use that local algorithm. And that local algorithm looks at additional signals that the regular algorithm doesn't look at. Like Google My Business is a great example. The regular algorithm, Google My Business, is a non-factor. Local, the categories you choose, making sure you've got the right phone number, the right business name, the right location, all that stuff, that really plays into local search. So that stuff is important. And it's something that has been a factor for dealers for a long time. The first time I talked about local SEO was back in Digital Dealer Orlando in 2011. So 9 years ago, 9.5 years ago, so I've been talking about it for almost 10 years. And still to this day, when I speak at automotive conferences, there's dealers that have never heard. I'll say, how many people have heard me speak before? And people will put up hands. Okay, everybody that hasn't heard me speak, how many people have never heard of local SEO? And there's always a bunch of hands that go up. So 10 years later, there's still dealers that don't know what local SEO is, or that's actually the SEO that their dealership needs. So that's why I always try to get out and speak at these conferences and just educate people and say, hey, look, and when I was at DealerOn, one of the things that I would always kind of say to not be pitchy, but to kind of be pitchy is, look, I don't really care if you buy SEO from us or not, but don't buy SEO from these other guys. And I wouldn't name names, but I would say, look, a lot of these other OEM approved vendors, they don't do local SEO. They don't know local SEO, and they're not doing half the stuff that needs to be done to get your dealership more visibility. So even if they're cheaper, don't spend money on it because you're just burning money.
Understood.
So, it's just trying to educate people that there is a difference in the things that you need to do. And there's a lot of factors that are at play with local that a lot of dealers just don't really know about. There's a lot of dealers out there that still don't have claimed Google My Business locations, which is just nuts.
Crazy. So last question on this, I want to go into the individual people. What do you recommend for a budget? Now, before you jump in, I heard you clearly. I didn't ignore you. I heard you that you can't just have random packages. It should be different. But again, give us ranges of what somebody should get their brain mentally prepared for to invest as a freaking multi-million-dollar business. What should be the investment or the potential investment on search? Question 1A. And question 1B is, once you give me that budget number, how do we spend the money? Now, besides giving it to you, but if we gave it to you, how would you use that money? So 2-part question.
So multi-part answer to your multi-part question. Question 1A was, what should the budget be? There's 2 sides of it. You got the SEO side and the paid search side. The SEO side really isn't going to change too much based on your market. And I'll get to that in a second. The paid search side could be drastically different. Because if you're a dealer in Podunk, Texas, way out in West Texas, you'd probably be fine spending $1,000 or $1,500 a month on paid search. But I know a lot of dealers that are in big markets that spend 30, 40, 50 grand a month on paid search. Now, does that mean every dealership should spend 40 grand a month on paid search? No, that's nuts. But in a crowded market, if you're getting ROI and you've got somebody good running your paid search and you're getting a good return on investment of that 30 grand, why would you not spend it? Of course you're going to spend it. Now, on the SEO side of things, the one thing I would say to kind of set dealers right is don't even contemplate spending anything less than about $2,000 to $2,500 a month on SEO. There are certain signals both on your site and off your site that Google's going to consider to rank your website to determine if you should show up as a relevant result. So there's a certain amount of time that needs to be spent every month addressing these signals. And for $500 a month or $600 a month or $1,000 a month, that person either has zero expertise or that person is not spending enough time on your site. To get anything quality at all, you're going to be spending at least $2,000 to $2,500 a month. You know, for us, if you're going to work with us, we don't even talk to businesses in any vertical, car dealers, jewelers, lawyers, anything. We don't talk to people unless they're going to spend at least $3,000 a month on SEO. Now, we don't have packages. Like I said, everything we do is customized. So that's a little bit different. But, you know, I would say for a car dealership, you should pretty much plan on, and this isn't just me, this is looking at the vendors, you know, within automotive and outside of automotive, you're probably going to be spending anywhere from $3,000 to $4,000 a month on SEO. Unless you're in a really small market, maybe you could spend a little bit less than that. But then you could go up. I mean, I know some dealers that are spending $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 a month on SEO.
Wow.
Again, if you get the ROI, why not spend that money? There's dealers in some markets that spend $20,000, $30,000 a month on SEO because they've been doing it for 4 or 5 years, and you kind of build up to it. You know, you don't jump right in and go, hey, let's spend 20 grand. I would tell somebody they're crazy and I wouldn't take their money. But if you start off spending $3,000 or $4,000 a month and you're getting really good return on that investment and you're like, wow, this is great. What if I really wanted to go after fixed stops? Could we add a little bit more money and really go after fixed stops really hard? Yeah, sure. Let's add a couple $1,000s more and we'll add some time in and spend some time and effort there. And then you're like, well, holy crap, this is really blowing up. Let's spend more on that and really kill fixed stops and be the only result for everything. Cool. Now you're spending $7,000, $8,000 a month. And now you're like, well, geez, man, I'd like to bump my used car business up. So now you're up to 10 or 11. So you can grow it organically over time like that and end up at a point where you're spending 10 or 15,000 a month on SEO. But as a point of entry, I'd say 2,500 to $3,000 at a minimum is where you should be. And that's just based on, I know what it takes to move the needle. And I know that it takes X amount of time to do that. And that's probably going to cost you about 2,500 to $3,000. Now, the paid search side, again, vastly different. There's no way to say, here's the number you should spend. What you need to do is find a vendor that will give you options. So a vendor should be able to look at your AdWords account if you've already been running it before to see what's working and what's not, and then look and do a competitive analysis to see what your competitors are doing, and then come back to you and give you 2 or 3 options and say, look, bare minimum point of entry should be X. If you want to push the envelope a little bit, go Y. And if you guys if budget is not a concern for you and you're willing to really blow it out of the water, then you can spend Z and really dominate in your market. And then you can choose what works best with your budget instead of working with a vendor that says, hey, you need to do this. And then when you're not getting good results and you come to that vendor and go, geez, man, I'm not really getting any leads from this. And they go, oh, well, you just need to spend more money. That's not the right kind of vendor to work with.
Absolutely. Listen, this is brilliant, and I appreciate it, man. Like, this is crazy. People are going to have to rewind a lot of this podcast and this video when we release it later on.
Absolutely. That's why automotive folks should subscribe.
Now, I want to close out, but before I do, I want to switch the gears completely. I want to share something with you. I don't know. Have you seen my daughter's website before, Greg? The T Got Your Keys website?
I clicked on it a week or two ago because you mentioned it in the group on Facebook, and I wanted to see what it was.
Okay.
So I looked at it for a couple of minutes.
So it's built on a build-a-brand platform, but forget about this. What I want to talk about for a second is I believe very passionately that we have an epidemic of colossal proportions in our industry with mediocrity. The average out of the 500,000 automotive sales professionals between the 16,500 franchise dealerships and the 40 to 50,000 independent dealerships out there, the average salesperson only sells 9.6 cars, which sucks. When you have Ali Radas and Frank Finitys and Cody Cars of the world selling 150 units a month on the floor. And I believe because they are not trained properly in the art of branding, 100%. Digital marketing, and creating their own opportunity. I grew up in the automotive industry 22 years ago with one fact, that car sales is like your own business. Well, in 2020, what freaking business doesn't have a website? So if a salesperson has a website, how should they give us a SEO strategy concept for a salesperson? We'll talk first strategy and then budget in a second. So this is a build-a-brand platform, but my daughter has dealer synergies, graphic people, and video people to create all the content. I believe psychologically, strategically, the website that a salesperson that you see right here is better than a lot of full-blown car dealerships. It flows a lot better. But again, it doesn't matter how good it is if nobody clicks to the website or nobody gets there. So I want you to help all of our listeners that are trying to become millionaires through car sales, like an Ali Raider, Frank Graniti. And if they want to take their destiny in their own hands and get their own website, whether it's a WordPress website, it's a build-a-brand website, or it's a custom site, how can they drive massive traffic to their website?
It's the same stuff you do as a dealership. It's understanding how that algorithm works. More than anything, it's putting out awesome quality content. And because you're a salesperson and you're doing your own salesperson website, you can have freaking personality. Where the dealership OEM locked website, it's very hard to stand out with personality there because you're limited by a lot of compliance issues that you're not limited to when you're on your own personal sales branded website. Now, the things that you have to be careful with, you don't want to set up a Facebook page that uses the same address as the dealership. If you set up a Facebook page, don't put the address, like the physical address of the dealership, because that can cause some SEO problems with the dealership. You can't do a Google My Business page because you're going to have the same address as the dealership and have some issues there. You probably won't even be able to get it approved because you're not actually eligible to get a Google My Business. So you're still playing in that local algorithm, but you have a little bit of a negative start because you don't have some of the factors that you need. But that doesn't mean that you can't still destroy some of the dealerships. You've got to work with somebody that's good at SEO so you know the right keywords to go after. And it's not always about going after the things that are searched the most often. Because a lot of times the things that are searched the most often are the things that the dealership's going to show up for. You want to go for those terms that don't have as many searches, but it's the stuff the dealerships aren't really trying to show up for. And if you could dominate all of that stuff, that's where you can really win because you're not getting as much volume on individual searches. But cumulatively, I've seen some sales guys where their individual salesperson website gets more traffic than the dealership that they work for because they do good SEO on that site and they put out awesome content. So it's really more.
I'm going to rewind you. Okay. Can you give us some examples of because these are nuggets, but like if I'm a salesperson, I don't know what the hell you're speaking. You're speaking Swahili. So let's translate.
You need a website.
Got that.
You need your own website with a domain that's easy to remember. You need to learn just some things about personal branding because it's not just about your website. It's about branding yourself and standing out to your customers. Like, I know a guy that puts a note inside the, on the gas cap. So the first time their customer goes to get gas, the first time in their new car, there's a thank you note inside the gas cap. So it's little cool, kitschy things like that to stand out and then transfer that whole process over to your website. Stand out, have personality, show on your website with content, with videos, with photos, why people, when they want to buy that Chevy truck or that Jeep or whatever brand it is that you sell, why should I come to Sean Bradley and buy that and not just go to the dealership where Sean Bradley works?
Right.
That's what you have to do. Your entire strategy around your content is not about, I want to show up for Chevy Dealer Dallas. It's, I want to show up for the best Chevy salesperson. I want to show up for place to buy a Chevy, best dealership to buy a Chevy. You want to look for those people that are looking for best or better or, you know, good reviews or things like that. So you want to create your content around that sort of thing so that your entire website is basically, the concept of your website is, I am kick-ass and here's why you want to buy from me specifically. So if I call the dealership and you're not working, then I ask, when is that guy or that girl working? Not, okay, cool, I'll come in anyway. You want people to associate you as the only option to buy that brand from in the market.
Okay, going back to the statement that you said about keywords and targeting keywords, you had said you don't want to necessarily, target the ones that are the most viewed because the dealer is going to get those. But you didn't give any specific examples. Can you help the people that don't understand this stuff, that's trying desperately? They're leaning in like this right now.
Yeah, so it's like, I like to use Dallas as an example just because that's where I live. So, Ford in Dallas, it's super competitive because there's so many dealerships. So if I'm a Ford sales guy in Dallas and I'm putting up my own website, I'm not going after Ford Dealer Dallas or Ford Mustang Dallas.
What are you going to go for?
Dallas. I'm going to go for best place to buy an F-150 in Dallas. Ooh. Or best dealership to buy an F-150 in Dallas, or best Ford dealer in Dallas. I'm going to go for those best places because the people in Dallas, I'm like, look, I'm going to buy an F-150, period. I'm a Ford fanboy. I know I'm buying the new F-150 when it comes out next year. The question is, where am I going to go? Am I going to go just for the dealership that has the cheapest? Not necessarily. I'm probably going to go for the dealership that gives me the best deal all around and the easiest sales experience, where I'm not going to go sit there and go show up at 8 o'clock in the morning and not be able to walk or drive off the lot until 6 p.m. at night because I sit in financing all day and do all that sort of stuff. So it's branding yourself as, I am the concierge experience. I am this ultra VIP sales experience. This is why I'm awesome. So, and it's not typically something where as a sales guy, you're going to be able to sit down and figure that stuff out yourself. Honestly, if you're a sales guy, it's totally worth dropping that $2,500 to $3,000 a month on SEO. You want to be that guy in Dallas that everybody knows. Oh, geez, man, if you're buying an F-150, you go to this guy.
Absolutely. Okay, so we understand the content strategy is awesome. The keyword strategy is awesome. What you said earlier in the interview about the link building, that's awesome. Talk to me about like local search. I want to give you an idea because I've been doing this for years. I don't think we've ever talked about it. Because a salesperson isn't the actual business entity, Google My Business is for a business. So here's a strategy that I've been training on, but I want to turn around and put it in front of the SEO guru yourself. Is I encourage people like my daughter. She didn't do this yet because she came to work for us, but this was the next step, is to turn around and go to LegalZoom.com. For less than $200, she could incorporate T Got Your Keys as an LLC. So if she incorporates T Got Your Keys as an LLC, it's got a federal tax ID number. She is a legitimate business, which does enable her to get Google My Business.
Does not. To have a Google My Business, you have to have a physical storefront with signage.
Okay. See, then that's changed a little bit. Years ago, it's different. So this is why I have you on here to correct this. What about if they had, I know that you need to have a physical address. So if they were before, and I don't know when this changed and stuff, I know that you were able to use not the P.O. boxes, because that was old school, but then it went to the virtual offices. So if you get a virtual office,
do not work. If it's a Regis or a WeWork or anything, you're gonna. What's unfortunate is so many lawyers, basically lawyers are the ones that screwed this up for everybody else. So many lawyers went out and got Regis offices everywhere to just try to show up everywhere.
Right.
And it's so abused that Google basically now just demotes you if you're in a co-working space. So any sort of co-working space, what sucks is there are legitimate businesses that use co-working spaces that now it makes it really hard for those businesses to show up because Google knows that those are just Regis or WeWork or whatever. And they're just kind of demoted. So
what about home businesses?
Home businesses, if you have a home business, you're only eligible if you're like a plumber or an electrician, where you are a service area business and you go to the customer's location to conduct business. But an individual salesperson, even if they incorporate and they are their own business, they're not eligible for a Google My Business because they work at a dealership. They do not have their own office or their own physical location with their own signage. And they are not a service type. Now, you could have technically maybe have like a mobile service tech guy. Yeah. Like if you did mobile dent repair, but you worked out of the dealership, you could have that guy do something because that's a service business where you're going to the customer's location to get a Google My Business. But yeah, you wouldn't be able to do that now as a salesperson.
And so what advice do you have? Is there anything that you could think of, because you're a ninja at this stuff, where not to scam, but to just, play the gray lines here? There's nothing that you could think about that could enable, even if somebody's willing and committed to incorporating a business and legitly, it is a consulting business. And if the dealership approves it, I'll give an example, like an Ali Rada.
Let me give you a different example. Let's go down that road. Let's say the dealership's cool with it and you do set up a GMB and for some reason you get that pushed through Google My Business and it actually is approved and shows up as a live listing. Mm-hmm. But I'm doing SEO for your competitor in that same market and I see that listing's gone tomorrow because I know that violates terms of service and I'm going to see that showing up and I'm going to report it to Google. And even though it may have slipped through the cracks the first time around, as soon as I go report it as spam, it gets taken down and all that effort you went through to get it up is gone immediately. So while that might be something that you could do to kind of try to push the boundaries, I don't like to suggest that to people because it's a whole lot of effort for something that can go away tomorrow if anybody wants to report.
Oh my God. Well, this is why you're being interviewed, dude. Because this is great stuff because I understand that local business search is really strong and we're always trying to figure out ways. How can an individual salesperson trying to be an Ali Rada or a Frank Kennedy or Cody Carter,
they do it without Google My Business? You just have a badass website with awesome info on it and then really grow your presence on social. That's the only way to do it. And then you can do AdWords and all that. You can do all the digital marketing stuff. You just can't do the Google My Business side of things.
Now, here's my thing, though. You started this interview saying that Google My Business and local search is the most important thing. So if we're taking the most important thing away from a salesperson, what can we do to give it a handicap? If we're losing local business, what can we do to overcompensate for that? So I know that you said we do
better content than the dealership websites have.
That's a nugget right there. That's a freaking bomb you just dropped right there.
That's what I was saying a minute ago about how you can really shine and show your personality and do things because you're not locked in. You can say, I am the best place to buy this Ford in town, where I don't think Ford's that heavy on compliance, but Mercedes, you can't say you're the best Mercedes dealership in town. That's against their compliance rules. But if you're a Mercedes sales guy and it's your own sales guy website, you can be like, man, I'm the best guy to buy from in town. Because compliance doesn't apply to you because you're not an OEM website. Right. That's where you can really shine. You can put that stuff up. You can be edgy. You can be funnier. You can have more personality. You can do crazy videos and goofy shit that you can't pull off on a dealership website. That's how you shine. That's how you beat everybody else.
Do you work with any salespeople, like individuals, or do you know of any individual websites that are just strong as hell that they're crushing it with SEO?
I think it's ChevyDude.com. And it's, and it's because his technical name is Louisville Chevy Dude, because he's got Louisville everywhere. And he does this, and he's gone absolutely nuts. Like, just do me a favor, click that YouTube video right there. That video has 57,000 views. And if you go back out, he's got 250 something thousand subscribers to his channel. So he's gone really heavy on YouTube with just nutty, crazy shit on YouTube.
Yeah, just to let you know, because I actually worked with him before. He's been at IS20G and all this stuff. And you read Chapter 5 of Video Optimization. Like, I actually spent a lot of time with Mike mapping out the strategy. And check this out over here. When you go to videos and you sort by the most popular ones, like he's got 3.2 million views on one of them, 3.1 on another, 900,000, 769, 679. And the strategy that we had was, again, like it was scams. You know what I mean? Like what are people afraid of? The fear factor, you know what I mean? Is that a lot of people are worried of getting cracked by a car dealer or getting taken advantage of. So he created these, beginning with the end result in mind. What do people want to know and stay away from? And he was right. These people, like millions of people literally went through this. And here's what's crazy. Some tips on, some stats on this. The guy has over 100 million minutes per month watched. 100 million minutes per month watched off of this platform. Pretty crazy.
And he sells Corvettes all over the country because of his freaking YouTube videos.
Right.
And that has nothing to do with his website or his SEO, but he did the video as part of his website and SEO. But it's that strategy of make yourself stand out from the dealership. So now it becomes, man, I got to buy from this guy, not I need to buy from this dealership.
Absolutely. Makes sense. Listen, Greg, like this was a tremendous amount of information. We took a lot of your time. We're over time, but I just didn't want to stop. But before we cut the interview, I want to just try to absorb this whole hour plus conversation we had. And I would like you to, kind of recap it or just between the dealership or the individual salesperson, how do you want to leave this interview? Because I know that people are, if they're in their cars listening to this or at their dealerships or at their gym listening to this is a plethora of, it's like drinking from a fire hose, so much information. Yeah. So let's just turn around before we exit, kind of frame it and takeaway points from today's interview.
Most important takeaway point, stop skimping on SEO. Most dealers really skimp on SEO. They shop by price. They don't shop by value. So look at the value of what you're getting. Think about, are you buying one of those OEM approved packages or are you buying something that's actually customized for what you need? Don't be afraid to spend money on SEO because it's your biggest source of potential growth in the future, especially after COVID. You've got to show up well. Really prioritize your Google My Business and then prioritize the content on your website and building links to your website. And make sure you're with a vendor that's going to do that for you.
For the dealership side, now the recap on the salesperson side is you absolutely recommend that salespeople should have their own websites and do SEO and drive traffic to their own websites.
Well, I only recommend it if they want to be successful. If they're happy selling 5 or 6 cars a month, then cool, don't put in the effort. But yeah, if they want to be in this biz for a long time and make bank, then hell yeah, why would you not brand yourself and make it where you're the only choice to buy a car from? it seems like a no-brainer.
Wow, I think it's absolutely, this is just mind-blowing information. And I look forward to having you with having more presence in the Millionaire Car Salesman Facebook group. So as you're doing your videos, man, please drop the links, inside the Millionaire Car Salesman group. And I'd love to be able to continue the conversation, maybe have you back on in a couple more episodes or have you. So listen, Greg, it's been an honor talking to you, and people, you better recognize. So how could they get a hold of you, by the way, if they had any questions?
So any questions, it's really easy. My email address is just greg@SearchLab Digital. So just all one word, searchlabdigital.com. Or, a lot of people connect with me on LinkedIn. You could do that as well. If you're a Twitter person, I'm just @Greg Gifford, but easiest thing, just greg@SearchLab Digital. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you like it, you love it, you want more of it, then don't wait for the next money show. Just go to bradleyondemand.com and take your career to the next level. If you enjoyed this podcast, then make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave us a review. Let some other folks know about it. Oh, and don't forget to join the Millionaire Car Salesman group on Facebook. We'll see you there.